In Daniel chapter 3, if you study from the verse 1 down, you understand that the 3 boys disobeyed or disrespected the order of the king. Daniel chapter 3. You see how the 3 boys said no to the order of the king. The same boys that accepted the names given to them said no this time around to the order given to them by the king. So the question of, is it wrong or right for the church to disrespect the order given to them by the government, will be centered on the type of order given to them by the government. At the other teaching I said, the order the government gave is not actually bad by human evaluation. By our senses is a good order, because the aim that they are telling the world is to avoid the spread of the COVID-19. But if that order has any hidden agenda, or if that order will go from that state to another state to the point where the church will totally be disrespected and the standard or the scriptures of the Lord will be violated as a result of maintaining COVID-19, then believe me, at this point, the church can as well say no. The true church of Christ, of course, will certainly say no to that, once the scriptures are being altered as a result of keeping the standard of COVID-19. In Daniel 3, Nebuchadnezzar, the king, made an image of gold whose height was 60 cubits and the breadth thereof 6 cubits. He set it up in the plain of Dura in the province of Babylon. Then Nebuchadnezzar, the king, sent to gather together the princes, the governors, and the captains, the judges, the treasurers, the counselors, the sheriffs, and all the rulers of the provinces to come to the dedication of the image which Nebuchadnezzar the king has set up. Then the princes, the governors, and the captains, the judges, the treasurers, the counselors, the sheriffs, and all the rulers of the provinces were gathered together unto the dedication of the image that Nebuchadnezzar the king has set up. And they stood before the image that Nebuchadnezzar has set up. Then an herald cried aloud, "To you it is commanded, O people, nations, and languages, that at the time ye hear the sound of the cornet, flute, harp, sackbut, psaltery, dulcimer, and all kinds of music, ye fall down, and worship the golden image that Nebuchadnezzar the king has set up." You can see the height of his disrespect. This is more or less megalomania, a height where you felt because you've gotten a lot of riches in your life, so much of wealth, you don't fear the Lord anymore. You don't have regard for the Lord anymore. Many people, many leaders in the world today live this type of lifestyle. Even some religious leaders also behave the same way. Because they felt they have attained a particular level in life, because of the wealth they have acquired, they feel they are sovereign in their respective areas of leadership. They feel they are sovereign on earth. They feel they can give any command and any person will take it. If you read down, you will see and understand that the 3 boys in Babylon said no to that they will not do that. And that wasn't a disrespect. It wasn't a disobedience to the Lord. In Acts 4:18, the very first time the disciples encountered a barrier in their ministries. Acts 4:18, they were outrightly told by the government not to preach Jesus in the land. Acts 4 verse 18. And they called them and commanded them not to speak at all, nor teach in the name of Jesus. And they called them and commanded them not to speak at all, nor teach in the name of Jesus Christ. Did they stop? They never stopped. If you read down, you will see that Peter and John never stopped preaching Jesus Christ in that same land. You can't call that disobedient to higher authority. And that wasn't what Paul was implying in Romans 13. If there's any authority that will come up with laws that will go against the teachings of Christ, then the church of Christ will not accept such at all. If the government would have asked the churches to close for now or for a moment and stay at home and do their services at home, or reduce the number of people for worship in their local assemblies, if that same government will come up with another order soon and to tell the church that they don't want to hear them teach about Jesus, then believe me, a lot of churches will rise up, and that will be the open door for that great tribulation. Because Jesus himself told the disciples that even your very nation will rise against you. Your brothers will rise against you. Your family will rise against you. Who are your brothers? The people from your tribe. The people from your same nation. Your co-citizens are your brothers. If the Nigerian government will rise against the church, it has fulfilled the prophecy. If the USA government will rise against the church, it has also fulfilled the prophecy. But the time has not yet come. Gradually, this time is beginning to come, to be open for one to see. But right away, the church cannot kick the order of the distance, washing of hands, and staying at home, because that order seems to be good. But if the order goes beyond that, just like these three boys and Peter and John in Act 4:18 acted against the order given to them by the government, of course, certainly, you will see that happening. These great men that we preach today as biblical models that we can emulate did not disobey higher authorities, because Romans 13 verse 1 did not say we should be subject to authorities that we act against the worship of our God. The actions they carried out should never be likened to witchcraft, because that is not what 1 Samuel 15:23 implied. In 1 Samuel 15:23, Samuel was telling Saul that rebellion is like a sin of witchcraft. And it was specific because Saul just disobeyed the order of God himself, not the order of a man, not the order of the government of the land. It was the order given to Saul from the Lord himself. So if you disobey the order of the leaders of this secular world that we see ourselves, or this corrupt world or satanic world, if the church disobeys that order that seems to act against the teachings of Christ, you don't liken that to witchcraft or disobedience, because God will be pleased to see that his church follow his own command alone. But if the church disobeys the standard or the commands given to her by Christ, then you can call that a sin of witchcraft. So one can as well say that most at times it is the government of the secular world that commit the sin of witchcraft, which is rebellion. When the government of the world start acting against the standards of Christ, then that becomes the sin of witchcraft. So you should be careful on how you receive laws given to you by the government of the land and how you work with those rules. The phases or the different stages that the boys in Babylon went through. The government changed their names. Don't forget, gave them good names. In that same Daniel chapter 1, 6-7, they were also offered an open hand to enjoy the national cake, and Daniel said no to that. At the same time, the government also gave them good recommendations, because at the end of this test, the 4 boys were found to be skillful and intellectually matured above all those that they picked for that exercise. So they were giving good recommendations. Their intellectual abilities and skills were effectively used by the government. In Daniel 2, 1 to the end, you will see it. That when the king had a dream, he called on Daniel, and in verse 17 to 18, we were told that Daniel related that to the other 3 colleagues, and they went into prayers to ask the Lord the solution to the king's dream. Even with this warning, the king, don't forget, still went ahead to build the golden, or the image that he wanted everybody to worship. The same government placed them in the hands of affair, politically and religiously, because of their skills and intellectual abilities. Many of the religious leaders enjoy these benefits today. Some of them have political appointments because the government feel that they are skillful or their intelligence is very okay or matured, and they have been given that open end to work with the leadership of the world. Many of them are no more standing at the right place with the Lord anymore, because they have started enjoying fully all the benefits that the secular leaders will enjoy. Don't forget, these 4 boys, even while they were given these offices, they never played the part that others played. And that was why they never valued those offices, and so they could tell the king, we will not bow down to your images. Many leaders today enjoying these offices have already bowed down to the images laid down by the government. I hope you not be doing the same mistake. Ensure you maintain your standard. If you're privileged to be given that hand to undo any political office as a believer, be careful. I don't even encourage believers to partake in this satanic political war. In Daniel chapter 3, you understand that the same government that have given these people political leadership or to deal with religious matters, probably they created offices that would suit their standard and place them to lead that area. But Daniel was actually made to lead province, a particular province. He was a little bit higher than the other 3 because he was asked to lead a province, a community precisely. But even at that, the same government that gave them this office to handle in the land of Babylon, that same government was the same government that have asked the other 3 boys to bow before the image at the sound of the musical instrument. One, we want to ask, where was Daniel when these 3 boys were going through this persecution or this tribulation or this trial? Where was Daniel? Or was Daniel already bowing down while the other 3 boys did not, and so they ought to be punished? The truth is this: the Bible did not actually tell us specifically where Daniel was when this was happening. But the truth remains that Daniel, of course, didn't have bowed down to the same images that he was teaching the other ones not to do, because they came as godly children. And of course, you can see in the chapter 1 and chapter 2, at the point in time, Daniel couldn't eat the food offered to them by the king. At the same time, one can as well say probably he changed later and joined the system, but that wasn't it. There are some school of thoughts theologically that have different point of view regarding the whereabouts of Daniel. The first one gave a submission that probably Daniel went for a particular political or religious assignment. So he was not in the land at that particular time that the trumpet and the sound were to be made. Probably the king has sent him out Because Daniel was in charge of a province. Daniel 2:48, you see there. He was controlling a set of community of people, and the king have seen that high skill or intellectual ability in him, and many a times the kings give out job for him to carry out. So probably he was not in the land when that actually occurred. Or other school of thought said that probably because of his exalted office in the province, in Daniel 2:49 we'll see that he was exempted from the commands to bow down to worship the image that the king has made. Another submission, Daniel may have also joined the king's cabinet, working on legislative or military plans. Or probably he has gone with them to a different location to also find out those that are going to be submissive to the king's order. He's just doing something not within that particular time that he need to be involved in that era or such activities. Perhaps another submission, Daniel's reputation as a diviner or a seer, as known by the Babylonians that he was a seer, a great seer of their time. They were scared to fight against him for him not being ready to submit to that worship. You know, sometimes people play this politics and they find it difficult to deal with people that are held at high esteem in the society. I will give a clear example here. A lot of nations or some countries are the problem a poor man is going to have and go to jail. Another rich man pronounced in the society will have that same problem and will not go to jail. The same problem someone will have and the security agency will deal with that person severely, beat him up probably, take him to the court. Another rich man in the same society and the same environment, because it's pronounced, we have that same issue. And the same security society that dealt with the poor man will not be able to deal with that man, or will try to handle his own case in a very simple manner. But the other time, they dealt with the other poor man in a very high manner standard, quoting the laws to the man. But right now, they will not be able to quote the laws to the man, to this other man, because they seem to be somebody of repute in the society. That might probably be Daniel's case, because Daniel has been seen as a seer, a great seer, a man who has a strong ability to discern things far beyond all the magicians in the land, astrologers in the land, all kind of people, necromancers in the land. Daniel has the ability to discern more than them. And so it will not be normal if the people meet him and is not ready to bow down or to pray or to worship the image. It will not be easy on them to just go tell the king. Even Daniel was involved, because Daniel was seen as a man of repute in the community. These are different reasons why the Bible seems to be silent in the issue of Daniel. Not because Daniel actually bowed down to worship, because some school of thought said Daniel actually bowed down to worship the image with the fear that the king will not deal with him or burn him or punish him for what he has done. So he needed to bow down. But many leaders today do the same thing. Daniel never did that. That was just a school of thought. As a religious leader, you don't submit, you don't bow down to satanic worship of the leadership of this world, because you don't want them to give you names, because you don't want them to deal with you. That even if the laws of the land are totally against the standard of Christ, you just submit to it. That wasn't what Paul was implying in Romans 13 verse 1. Paul never said that. You should hold firm to your calling. That was what Paul teaches you in his epistles. You should not deny your calling. Run the race to the end. Don't be coming to the point that you're living a double standard lifestyle as a leader or as a believer. If the government of the world said, kiss the idol, you kiss the idol because you don't want them to punish you. If they raise up the ban, you now return back to the church as a normal minister. You are living a double standard life. Don't forget, Christ said, on the last day, some will say to him, Master, we dine with you. In your name, we cause the blind to see. In your name, we cause the crippled to walk. And you still tell them, get behind me. I hope you will not be part of those people who will tell you such statements. Struggle and run the race. So on the last day, the Lord will tell you, well done, thou good and faithful servant. The same Daniel outside the trial of the three boys. The same Daniel in Daniel 6 went through his own trial. He was arrested, thrown into the lion's den because of prayers to his Lord. So you can now see that if this Daniel could break the law in chapter 6, he never bowed down to the image in chapter 3. He was arrested, thrown into the lion's den, but at the end of the day, the three boys' story in the fire was a glorious one, joy unspeakable. Daniel in the lion's den, joy unspeakable. Do not give up your faith or your calling because of the present state you see yourself. At this time, run the race. Touch the lives of people. Don't feel so relaxed. Do the work of your master now that you see half time. Don't sit at home eating and drinking. Reach out somebody. Send out good SMSs of encouragement to brethren. Call your fellow brethren on phone. Look at your neighbors that need the Lord. Talk to them. That is a job you should be doing. Don't submit as a believer to authorities that are against the standard of Christ for the church. If you are truly a believer, if you are truly a born again, a saved one, don't forget, you cannot run away from tribulations. They are what God has created for the church. Tribulations, persecutions have never brought down the church. These are tools that God himself has always used right from the time of the apostles to expand the gospel, to uplift the faith of brethren. So do not go down in your time as a soldier. Hold firm to your weapon. Keep fighting the war, the race, and keep conquering. If you fall down, stand up and keep running the race. Whenever you fall down by virtue of sinning, stand up. Fall down by being discouraged, stand up and keep running the race until when our master will come to take the church to present to his Father. May God bless you and encourage one another where you live. God bless you.